broken tent pole is not a stress with a tent pole repair kit. I'm going to show you how to fix it.
Hit it.
Hey guys, it's Lauren from Snowy's here. I have with me today a fiberglass pole set from a Coleman Montana 12 that's got a split segment. Not 100% sure how that's happened, but if your tent poles are quite old or they've been smashed in some really hardcore weather, it may occur. So when you get back from your camping trip, you need to repair them. Now, replacement pole sets aren't as readily available for tents as you think, especially if your tent is an old one. So being able to repair your pole kit is a really awesome skill to have that will make sure that you get 20 years out of your tent. So there's a couple of things you need before we get started. I'm gonna run through them with you. So a couple of the tools that you'll require is a hacksaw for cutting down your pole lengths, a file for smoothing off the ends, a tape measure, or even better, a caliper for checking the size poles you need, some tape, and some needle nose pliers or a multi-tool. Now, in addition, you're going to want to have a repair kit. So you can get these repair kits that come complete with the shock cord and the poles and all the fittings you need. Or if you already have a couple of spare pole segments, maybe you've got them from the tent manufacturer or something along those lines, just a little bundle of shock cord will see you right for being able to do the repair. So the first thing we're going to do is measure up the pole so we can work out what diameter repair kit we're going to get. You can use a tape measure here. But we recommend using some calipers if you can get your hands on some. They come in handy from even just from a cheap shop or something along those lines because they're a lot more accurate. Now I can see here these poles are measuring at 11 mils. So pole repair kits actually do come in fixed diameters. If your pole that you need to repair doesn't equally line up exactly with the repair kit option that's available, just go with the repair kit that's the closest size, smaller than your original poles that you're fixing. The other thing to note is it's important to get a repair kit that matches the pole that you're trying to fix. So if you're fixing a fiberglass tent pole, you're getting a fiberglass tent pole repair kit. If you're fixing aluminium lightweight tents or a swag pole, then you get a swag pole replacement kit. So fortunately, we've got the 11 mil tent kit here. So we're going to open up this packet and we'll have a look through all the bits. So in your pole repair kit, you'll get a couple of different replacement segment lengths. You'll have some different fixing options and you'll have a nice big long bit of shock cord because it might be possible that you don't need to repair a pole segment. You might just need to replace some snapped elastic. So I'm just going to be using one of the segments today to replace the busted one on this pole set. The first thing we're going to do is deconstruct this pole. So this is where our needle nose pliers come in. We're going to fish the elastic out of the end. Can be a bit tricky. There we go, out of the end of the pole here, and it should just be anchored by a knot. So preferably you're going to be untying the knot if you can, because that leaves you with a nice big long length of elastic to reuse. Otherwise, if the knot's a bit tight or tricky, just cut it off and use your replacement elastic that you've got in the kit. All right, so I'm going to let that one go and just pull this pole out. Now the next step is to prepare our replacement segment. Now obviously the repair kit segment is longer than our original tent pole. So what we're going to be doing is cutting that down to length, which is where our hacksaw and our tape come in. So we're just going to line them up next to each other. We're going to mark off the right length with our tape here. And then the next thing we're going to do is just carefully cut through that fiberglass pole with the hacksaw. Once the pole is cut, we're going to be grabbing our file and we're just going to really gently and carefully file around the edge of that pole just to make sure there's no splinters or splits, and also make sure that that pole segment is slipping in and out of the socket really easily. So once your filing's done and we've triple checked that our segments are lined up and all beautiful looking, we're going to reconstruct the pole. So what I'm going to do is, because the original elastic wasn't damaged in any way, I'm just going to reuse this. I like to put a bit of tape on the end of the elastic, sort of just to harden up the end for threading through, sort of like a shoelace end. Just roll that along. Now the replacement segment I've remembered was the one on the end of the pole. So the first thing I'm going to do is thread the elastic through all the way to the end. Now this can be a little bit time consuming, but it shouldn't really be difficult at all. All right, so once that's through, I'm going to remove the tape and I'm going to anchor that with a knot. Make sure I've got enough to go back through the pole. Pull that knot down into there. Make sure that's anchored nicely. And now we're going to go through the rest of the poles. Okay, so I've still got one segment left to thread through on my full length of pole. Now, because I'm using the original shock cord, which is obviously under tension holding that pole together, I'm going to have to pull through a bit of excess and keep that pinned so I've got enough to play with to thread through on that last pole. If you are using replacement shock cord that you'll get in the kit, this will have more than enough length, in which case you won't have to worry about stretching it out. And then once it is threaded through, you're just going to pull it a bit to give tension on it, cut it and tie a knot. Threading through with the last segment now. All right, so we've finally got that out the other end. Just hold on to that tightly and we'll slip these two poles together. All right, so we're gonna take a hold of this elastic now. Because this is the original one, we know it's the right length from before. Actually, what I might do is I'll tie just a random knot in here before I remove the tape, just to make sure I'm not going to lose it after threading it all the way through there. So we're going to remove the tape. That should do the trick. That'll do it. Okay, and I'm just going to tie a knot in here. All right, so once we have untied that little fail-safe knot we've got here, we're just going to really gently just release that shock cord back into the hub, and that's your pole repair finished. Now, honestly, threading that shock cord through is not my favorite job. It's a bit time consuming and can be fiddly, but it's well worth the effort if it means your tent gets to live another day. You can get your tent pole repair kits or any other odds and ends at snowies.com.au. If you found this video helpful, give us a like. If you've got any questions or comments or even hot tips for doing your own pole repair, chuck them below. You can head here to subscribe or here for more helpful videos. Catch you later, Snowies fam.